Winter, the most introspective of all seasons. I'd like to start this chat off with a quote from Aldous Huxley. The more powerful and original the mind, the more it will incline towards a religion of solitude. For those of you who have watched and joined me on a Fireside chat before, you kind of know what to expect. For those of you who this is your first time, well, you're in for quite something, as these videos are completely different from everything else that I do on this channel. So with that, let's go to the next topic, the birth of TLOU Strategist. So last January, about 1 year ago, I took a week off from work and rented a cabin out in the woods. Originally, I had planned on simply camping out in those woods, but the temperatures got far too low and the area was absolutely covered in 3 feet of snow and ice. So I spent about 4 days or so in the cabin alone, and I was completely silent. I'd wanted to do a silent retreat in the forest away from all the modern noise and interruptions, as I've heard that taking yourself out of that and spending 1 week in the woods alone and silent has a way of recalibrating one's energy and pacing of life. And you know what? It's true. Within modern civilization, we're always busy and filled with stimuli, and whether we know it or not, we're on edge. For me, this was an unbelievable gift to unplug and to gain clarity and focus on many different important aspects of my life. One of the things that resulted from this trip is this channel. I decided that giving this channel a go was a good idea, and that I did have something beneficial that I could offer the community. And now that I think about it, being out there in the woods brings me to our next topic, learning from nature. Some people might be asking, T-Strats, seriously? Do you think we can really learn anything from the natural world? Well, yes, absolutely. I'm going to share with you one insight, a pattern that I've recognized throughout many aspects of my life. It's simple, yet profound. From beginning to end, from birth to death. I want to take a look at it in terms of the seasons. Spring. It symbolizes birth, new growth, and life, transitioning out from the introverted world of the womb, from where we are born, towards the extroverted world of life here on earth. Summer. This season symbolizes growth, starting with the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. This period of life is also marked by extreme extroversion, where our full attention is upon the external. Next is autumn, or the appropriately named fall, as we begin our decline from extrovert towards becoming introvert in attention. We wish to decline with grace. And lastly, the inevitable, the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, marks the first day of winter, the transition towards extreme introvert and death. This cycle can be found throughout life. Relationships, all living things, the stars, even a single day. From waking up, birth, to going to sleep, death. Knowing this cycle can be helpful for both being present and being content in whichever stage we currently find ourselves inhabiting. What we choose to do with our own time is our own. This leads me to our next topic, time. I know I've spoken about time in previous Fireside chats, but this is a different take on it. I remember this time when my grandmother was nearing the end of her life, and she said, "It all just went so fast." It really kind of freaked me out. And I thought, Nana, you're 80 some odd years old. What the heck do you mean it went by so fast? It can be a really daunting thought. A few years ago, I read a study about how our brain processes memories. And then it suddenly all made sense. Our brain records memories fractionally. And when you're 5 years old, 1 year is 1/5 or 20% of your life, a significant chunk. But when you're 50 years old, 1 year represents 1/50th or 2% of your lifetime, a very small chunk. This is why summers seem so long as a child. Because in the terms of your life, they were. As we grow older and accumulate more and more memories, it may seem as if life, or maybe how we remember it, is accelerating. Thus, because of this, it becomes ever more important to remain in the present and acknowledge your current time and space for what it is. And with this thought, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is a very interesting one indeed, the Enneagram. I highly doubt many, if any of you listening to me, have heard of the Enneagram. It's actually quite unfortunate because I think it can have a dramatic impact on one's life. The Enneagram is an ancient Sufi teaching that describes 9 personality types and how each type interrelates with one another. Now, just because something is old doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. But in this case, this ancient system does work quite well. And I find that it's immensely valuable at helping one understand others' pathways of thinking, their logic, how other people can become fulfilled, and how they can also become depressed. It is fantastic for getting to know your coworkers, friends, family, romantic interests, partners, and how to develop full and well-functioning relationships with these people. Of course, the most important aspect of the Enneagram is learning more about yourself. You may think you know yourself, but our mind and our imagination have an interesting way of creating blind spots and false personas. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. TLOU. I know some of this talk may be making some of you feel uncomfortable. I know it is really unusual and maybe a bit weird. It's something that is not very common. It is not very popular. But I urge you, don't let something's popularity dissuade you from investigating it. Investigate, research, and check things out for yourself. It is critically important that you do this for yourself. Don't take someone else's word for it. That is not good enough. It is really, really easy for certain people and agencies to dissuade people from searching things out on their own. There is this age-old method called an agent provocateur, where a person poses as a member of a certain group and can act in a ridiculous or even shameful manner, therefore bringing the whole view of that group down. It is something that is very sinister and very easy to do. Thus, because of this, some people might feel that a whole area of study to be complete rubbish, even though they have never personally checked out that field of study for themselves. It's not a very scientific method, and really, it is quite foolish if you think about it. Anyways, I digress. With our intention on ourselves, we move on. The next topic is the path. What is the path? Well, it is the name of a song by Gustavo Santaolalla in the Last of Us soundtrack. But what I'm referring to is our own personal journeys of life. Now, before we go any further, I would like you to take note that I make an active effort to not tell people what they should do or how they should live their lives. Taking on the role of a mentor or a teacher is something that should be approached with profound respect. The mentor should have their external matters, but most importantly, their internal matters in order. They should be emotionally and spiritually wise. And by spiritually, I do not mean in a religious sense. I mean more in a universal or philosophical connotation. You would wish that they have done what some call the inner work. Me, I haven't. I am not there, not even close. And that's okay. That's where I am on my path. Someone else's decision isn't wrong. They're just at a different point of their path. Or say they're heading down a road that you've previously gone before, and it didn't turn out so well for you. You might feel compelled to tell them not to do it. Don't even think of going this way. It's a terrible idea. Don't tell them that. Just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it won't work for them. Plus, you also run the risk of robbing them of a potential life lesson. The Covert 3 silence tactical user isn't wrong. They're just at a different point on their path. And sure, some people might get stuck at one point for a long time, but that's their lesson, not ours. And here we are in winter, the most conducive of all seasons for being with, for examining, and for focusing on yourself. So when I began this project last January, I told myself I'd give myself 1 year's time and then I'd reevaluate. I can honestly say that I am beyond surprised with just how well this has gone this initial year. This time 1 year ago, no one had even heard of TLOU Strategist, not even me. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining me on this journey whenever you decided to hop on this shared path. In the near future, I will be taking some time away for the many reasons that I listed in this chat. Videos may be few and far between for a spell, but I just wanted to give all of you a heads up. If any of you wanted to take some of that time to maybe go and get to know yourself better, well, I think that'd be bloody fantastic. Lastly, thank you again for sharing this time here with me today. I do not take your time for granted, and I sincerely appreciate you choosing to join me. For now, let each of us go our own ways. With our bows in our hands, wind at our backs, questions in our minds, and intention in our hearts.